Summer's in full swing, ladies, and you know what that means? The kids are home. But pretty soon, the bell's going to ring, Brad.
Absolutely.
And they're going to have to go back to school. So we want to prepare you with a plan to get those kiddos back to school on your budget. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Smart Money. I'm Chris Postler, joined by Brad.
Yeah.
Brad, how you doing?
Back. I'm doing awesome.
Great. Hey, we are in the throes of summer. And I'll tell you what, it's hot. It's even hot up where you live.
Yeah,
Brad.
absolutely.
Is it?
Up in the North Pole, right up in Wisconsin, right?
Yeah. So, summer is in swing. You know what that means? The kids are home. We're doing a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to the pool. We're going to the water park.
Yep.
There's been a lot of bonding. We've been playing outside. But
don't forget about camping.
Camping?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not like a big camper, Brad. I like to have my shower every day.
Yeah.
But I'll camp in luxury.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Glamping.
Glamping. Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? Summer's going to be over soon.
Yep,
right?
Absolutely.
And we need to be prepared with a plan for all of the expenses that are going to come with those kids going back to school. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about this real quick, Brad. Let's just outline some of the things that we're going to need to be ready for.
Yeah. So what are some of these typical expenses? Well, first and foremost, you've got your clothes, right? So don't forget, we just mentioned Wisconsin. It gets cold up there. So we need to make sure we've got jackets, snow pants. Man, I don't even want to think about that right now. But then we go on to school lunch programs. And if your school doesn't offer a lunch program, maybe you're packing lunches. So what types of things do you need to be prepared for when your budget increases because you now have got to start packing those lunches and sending all of those meals to school, right? Mm-hmm. You've got backpack expenses, general school supplies, registration fees. This was a shocker for me. My son attends public school, but I didn't realize they add on registration fees and different things for things that they sign up for at schools. And this was new to me when he started kindergarten. I didn't realize that was going to be the case. But don't forget about those registration fees. And again, if you're on a tight budget, $40 or $50 can make a big difference in some cases. So just make sure you understand what those fees are going to be. If your kids play athletics, that's a extra added expense. They might have to pay extra fees for those things. Obviously, if you have to go to doctors, get physicals, immunizations, and get a clear to play, there might be some fees that are you're gonna have to pay, insurance copays, things like that. So just make sure you understand what those are gonna be. Music. If your kids are in music, do they take music lessons maybe at school, or are they taking music lessons after school? And is there any sort of purchase that you're gonna have to make for any musical instruments, or do you rent music instruments? So make sure if you plan on putting your kids in some of these activities, make sure you've got a plan for some of those things so that way you can be able to let them participate. Then we move on to any art, art supplies, right? So especially for your little kids, but even in the high school age, or even if your kids are going to technical school. I remember when I went to technical school and we had art classes there were some pretty expensive art pieces or actually supplies that we needed to have in order to take some of those art classes. Yeah. So, make sure if those are going to be any expenses for those. Field trips, and these pop up, It's like they don't tell you all the time. And it's like, hey, next week we're going to the zoo, we need 10 or 15 bucks or whatever it's going to be. So, this is a good opportunity to make sure you just start setting a little bit of money aside each month in your budget. So that way, if those things pop up, it's not like, where are we going to get the money from? When you're pulling it out of your grocery fund or, whatever it might be, you're going to have money to save for those things. School pictures.
Wow. Do they still do those?
They do. This is such a pet peeve for me. My kid gets his pictures taken more than I think I ever did in my life. It's like he gets 2 school pictures a year now. Plus, if you have them in sports, then
they do it for every sport.
They get a sport picture, and it's like these expenses just keep popping up, and it's like I just don't want to spend the money on all these pictures anymore. So understand that you're going to have pictures to pay for. And then lastly, don't forget about your after school care. okay? So if you work full time and you're not able to pick your kids up from school and they've got to go to an after school facility before you can pick them up, there's going to be costs associated to those things too. So this is a lot of stuff, and it doesn't have to be all that bad as long as we do what? Have a plan for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so when we have that plan, we need to put that plan together for each child that we have, really, right?
Yeah, right.
Because they're each going to have, their own expenses.
Absolutely.
So when we start to put together that plan, Brad, what are we going to do? I mean, what do we look at?
Yeah, what I would recommend is, and this is going to be a tough step for some people, because if you haven't been really tracking what you've been spending over the past years, this first time you do it might be a little bit difficult, right? But what I would recommend is look at what you spent over the past years. Start to figure out, okay, what did I spend last year? Did I overspend? Was I able to afford it? Where did I maybe overspend? And if you didn't do that in years past, make sure you do it this year. Start writing down, okay, what it is that I spend, so that next year when it comes around, you have a really good idea as to where you're going to be. Okay. Then also make sure you take inventory of all the things that you currently have. Don't go out and buy stuff that you don't need. My kid's got a little desk that's in his room, and he's got tons of little things and supplies in there that he brings home after school is over. And some of those things can just be reused because they've been barely used to begin with. You don't need to constantly be buying brand new items, right?
Yeah.
Now, in our school, and it might be very similar to some other schools out there, like crayons and markers and things, these things we purchase and they get donated to the school, and then all the kids get to use them. So some of that stuff may or may not come back to you. But the stuff that does, like backpacks, lunch boxes, some of that stuff, it doesn't have to be replaced every single year.
Yeah.
It can if you have the money, but if you don't, those are probably things that you're going to want to probably reuse.
Yeah. And obviously, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, Brad, but these lists are different depending on what age your child is.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Right.
I know I have a 5-year-old son right now, and we're basically buying him a new pair of shoes every 2 to 3 months.
I feel your pain.
Because he's growing like a weed.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
So we're going to talk about that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think what's important, and we talked about this in the budgeting process overall, you got to get your family involved, right? And I think having your children involved in their back to school planning process and budgeting process is a great idea. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, and this can go even as young as even 5, 6, 7 years old. Start teaching them that, hey, these school supplies are going to cost money, all right? And share with them, okay, these are the items we need to buy. This is the list from the school, and this is how much money we need to spend or that we can spend on this. This is how much we've budgeted and planned to bring. Okay, so then what that means is that when you go to the store with them and they see, and Chris and I were joking about this, the fancy Trapper Keepers. I don't even know if they sell those things anymore.
I don't know.
I know as a kid, those things were just the best. If you got a Trapper Keeper, you were the cool kid in the coolest school, right? But they were super expensive. Meaning I never got one. I think I got one in my life, and it was a used one. But they can start looking at some of these things and start, wow, that's really expensive. And now you're starting to teach them opportunity costs. Like, okay, if you buy these fancy, glossy, cool folders over here, then you're not going to have enough money to get the rest of your supplies or to get this thing that you wanted also. All right. They're going to have trade-offs. They're going to have sacrifice. They're going to have to say, yeah, I'll get this, but I'm going to have to sacrifice maybe on the cool pencils or the Trapper Keeper or maybe the extra cool shoes or whatever it might be.
Yeah. And I think also, including them in this budget and purchasing process, but including them in creating the funds to set up that budget.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So summer chores.
Yes.
My parents were big on summer chores, right? My chores, I remember, I had to cut the grass, right, all the time. I had to get up and water the flowers. If the flowers died, my budget died, right? Doing dishes on a certain night, right? Maybe your family always has dinner together on Sunday night during the summer, and maybe the child's job is to do some of the dishes, right?
Yeah, right.
I had that list of things, but that also meant that I was putting money towards, my back to school or my allowance fund,
absolutely,
right?
yes.
This is money you're gonna spend anyway.
Yeah,
Why don't you create some good habits with your child, in the process? And it doesn't need to be like heavily or, you very closely tracked, but having that up and having them kind of own that from a young age. I mean, this isn't parenting smart parenting.
Right.
But, you know, like it helps to involve them in the process.
Absolutely it does, yeah.
Right.
And I do this with our son. You know, we have him save in 3 different banks. And, you know, when he takes money out of his spending bank, I hear him at times say, I don't want to take that much because I still want money for later. He's learning that, and he's only 7. So these are great opportunities for you to, you know, show your kids how to do this stuff the right way. You know, you can only, this is what you have to buy. This is the money you have to buy it with. You got to make it spread, and you got to sacrifice on some of these things in order to make it all work. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool. I mean, and even just everything's a game now, right? Really gamifying that whole process. And you know what? Even though that maybe they're doing chores and they're trying to decide what I'm going to spend my money on,
right?
You know what? It can be fun for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, they love making money.
Yeah.
Just like we do, right? If you show them money, they're like, wow, I get money if I do work. You're going to be amazed at the kind of stuff that they do.
Right. That's absolutely right. So next is really jumping into the clothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think this is a hot topic for a lot of people because, you know, just like we talked about in the car buying and in the home owning process, you know, your clothing a lot of times now is becoming the status symbol of, you know, who we are. And, you know, not many schools are enforcing a dress code anymore, right? So you kind of can wear whatever you want, and everyone wants to look nice and, you know, look good, feel good, play good, right?
Absolutely.
But this stuff costs money.
Oh, it costs a lot of money, right? And especially like you said, you know, you've got a son that's constantly outgrowing shoes. So, you know, what sense does it make to spend $40, $50, $60 on a pair of shoes that he may not be wearing in 3 months, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money you're spending on some of those items. So, you know, maybe look at alternative options. And what are some of those? So when you have kids that are, you know, younger aged, all the way maybe up to about 11 or 12 years old, a lot of those kids, they don't really care too much what they dress up like, right? Now, maybe as the boys get a little older, the girls get a little older, they start to, you know, socially see, you know, things that they want to obviously improve their clothing when they get to those older years. But when your kids are younger, you may be able to afford to go to like secondhand stores, right? Look for clothing swaps. One thing that Sarah and I have done, again, Noah, our son, he's only 7, he'll be 8 this year, is we found a family that has boys that are just a little bit older than him. So they'll send over clothes that are maybe a season or two too big for him. And when he grows into them, those are the clothes that he gets now. And we have had, over the years, have had to buy very, very little. And my son, he's an outdoor kind of kid. He gets dirty. He doesn't care what he wears, right? He's just not that way. So we're not going to spend a ton of extra money on those clothes right now. Now, when he gets older, things change, right?
Yep.
Teenage years come along, right?
Yeah.
And now we start to, like you said, socially, we start to see that, you know, are we accepted by what we wear? And you kind of want to, you know, dress appropriately. What are the other kids wearing? And with those ideas comes more cost to the parents, right? And also the kid if you get them involved. So when your kids are older, you know, older teenage years, there's a couple things you can do. One, put a line item in your budget. We talked about budgeting all the time. Put it in there every single month. You know, whatever it is that you can afford. Maybe it's $15, $25, and you're going to have to base it on what kind of, you know, how many kids you have. But put that money away and put it in an envelope, in a cabinet, put away. And put it in there every single month. That way, when things come up and you need that, you can go out there and you can buy the clothes and hopefully pay cash for most of those items. Now, if it's these super awesome shoes or crazy, like even an Under Armour sweatshirt, it amazes me, like $75 for just a sweatshirt. It's like, this is crazy prices. If your kids are wanting some of those items, that's okay. This is an opportunity to teach them hard work. Go out, let's get you some chores, or maybe if they're old enough, how about a part-time job? You know, get a part-time job, start earning a paycheck, and then we'll start showing you how to budget, and then you can take some of those earnings and go out and buy those items. And I think what you're gonna find though is that a lot of them are gonna realize that it took a lot of hard work to earn $75. I don't think it's worth this sweatshirt. Yeah. You know, that's what I found when I started working as a kid. You know, I wouldn't spend nearly as much money on things that my parents would buy for me. When I started working, it all changed because I was like, man, I really had to put in a lot of work for this.
Yeah. And I guess I'm going to put you on the spot too, Brad. You know, it's like this guilt factor creeps in, right? And a lot of times, especially when we're talking about our children, you know,
absolutely.
They come back and say, well, so-and-so has this. And then you start to feel that parental guilt. And I think that happens to a lot of people, you know, or they come back and say, you know, well, Tommy's mom bought him this and it's so cool. And how do you how do you combat that?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, we deal with that right now. I mean, Noah's 7.5, and he'll find out his friends have, either, PlayStation 2 or Xbox or things like that. And he's not really into that stuff yet, but he's played it a couple times. And he's like, oh, well, my buddy's got Xbox and his parents bought him. And it's like, well, you're not old enough for that. We're not going to bring that here. And by the way, you have other things that other kids don't have too. All right. Each person's going to have kind of their own things that they have. And we're also going to have things that we don't have. So this isn't the time to focus, and this is what we're really stressing with Noah right now, is because he's always in the I wish we could have that better camper, right? Because we're camping now. I want that better camper. I wish we could have that. It's like, you need to stop concentrating on so much on what you don't have, and you need to start focusing and be grateful for what you do have. Yeah. And you're going to start to realize that you're not going to worry about all the stuff you don't have anymore because you're going to be too busy thinking about that, hey, this is some cool stuff. I get to do this. I get to go to summer camp. I get to do stuff that other kids don't get to do because we choose that those are our priorities.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah. So the next one, really when we're going out and we're doing this shopping, we need to be conscious about where we're shopping. It's no different than, hey, if you're going to go to Nordstrom, you're going to pay Nordstrom prices.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right? So let's talk about that. And what are your recommendations?
Yeah, what I would recommend is, look for coupons, look for discounts, look for deals. Once you get this plan put up or set up and you get your budget in line, you get your list from your school, don't go out and do like the Christmas Eve shopping for Christmas the day before school, right? Because you're likely to probably spend money on stuff just because you didn't have a plan going out there. But if you're looking early enough, and these back to school sales start as early as probably late July and early August now, start looking for the best deals of when they're going to run that based on your location. Where we're in school, our schools usually start late August, early September. Further down south, they're probably starting, early August. So it's going to depend on your area too. But check those ads. Look for the best discounts. Look for the best deals. And don't forget, it's not just the big box stores that hold all those deals. We found that stores like Walgreens, the drugstore, CVS Pharmacy, those types of stores run excellent deals on these supplies as well. So don't forget about those. I know some people tend to forget about those. Even when it comes to Christmas too, they run great deals on some of that stuff there.
Yeah, or my son's new favorite store, which is 5 or Less. Have you ever, that and Dollar Tree, right?
Yep,
a lot of those supplies are there, right?
Absolutely.
Don't go overpay for those items.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Right. So the last thing is, really on some of these items that we need to purchase, do we have to have them the day that school starts?
Yeah. And this is a great point. Especially if your kids want specific things. We talked about the Trapper Keeper, or maybe those cool pens, cool pencils, whatever it might be. Something, the huge box of crayons, not the standard box of crayons, right? And what you might find is that if you just wait for just a little while after school starts, you're going to find a lot of that stuff that was on those shelves is going to be drastically discounted, 50% off, 75% off, and you're going to be able to go a couple weeks later and stock up on some of those items, or at least get the items maybe that you had to say no to right now, that now you have a little bit of extra money, you can go spend some money on it because it's much cheaper. Right.
And we're talking about more of the luxury items. I mean, we're not saying take that route with like Kleenex and things that we have.
And folders, notebooks, right. We need those things, but things that we don't necessarily need, like the cool folders with, the Star Wars characters on it and all that, maybe hold off and wait to see if some of those things go on sale after school starts and you can take advantage of those things.
Right. Or like my son, the shoes with the lights in them. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe that's an after school starts purchase when those things go on sale.
Right.
Cool. Well, this is a great episode, Brad. I enjoy talking about it. I'm fully for the kids going back to school, right? I like it. I think it's great. I think our consultant base is looking forward to that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because they're going to go back and they're going to learn. They're going to learn how to be, upstanding young individuals. But you're also going to get some of your time back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
That's what I'm thinking. It's like go back to school now.
Yeah, and we want to be prepared for that process.
Yeah, right.
So make sure that you're thinking about these things now. We're in July. This is coming up on us quick. Thank you for joining us today. Hope you learned something. Brad, we're out. Hi ladies, Chris Postler and Brad Nelson. I'm sure you've heard about our world-renowned show, Smart Money, but we wanted to come back and talk about Brad's new, improved version of the Roots financial coaching class.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, Roots of Personal Finance is really everything that you're going to need to completely change your financial future. We have now, over the past year, helped consultants all over the United States and in Canada save and pay off hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah, amazing success. And you too can have this success just like all of these other consultants have had. You know, a lot of people struggle with money and debt, and that's not something that you need to be ashamed of, but it's something that you need to realize that, you know, it's time to get this stuff under control so that you can have a successful future and enjoy what you do for a living. So Roots of Personal Finance is going to walk you through everything that you need to know. We're going to talk about things like behavior, budgeting, saving, eliminating debt, insurance. Not only that, but you get the Roots community, which is a community of all of our members that are encouraging and helping each other along the way. These have been people that have walked in the steps, they've signed up for the course for the first time, and now they're going to be there to help and support you along your journey. You are not alone in this. This is like a group of like-minded people all working towards a common goal to fix their finances. We also have group live coaching calls every single week, not only for general topics about personal finance, but we also have topics about pure romance as well. We have one monthly live meetup that we do where consultants can come and bring their business finances and we can talk about them.
He's right, ladies. There's been a great number of success stories coming out of the Roots program. We even filmed a whole Smart Money show about it. So check out the information and join up into the group. We hope that you have a great success.